They called him the king of comedy, a man who ruled television, shattered barriers, and made the world laugh. But when Redd Foxx took his final bow, the laughter stopped, and the truth was devastating. He died broke, $3.5 million in debt. Hollywood turned its back, leaving his legacy hanging by a thread, until one unlikely superstar stepped forward. Who paid for Redd Foxx's funeral and why? The answer will shock you, inspire you, and change the way you see this comedy legend forever. Stick around because this is a story you won't want to miss. Redd Foxx's story begins far from the glitz of Beverly Hills. He was born John Elroy Sanford on December 9, 1922, in St. Louis, Missouri. Poverty was his first reality. His father, Fred Sanford, an electrician and mechanic, walked out on the family when John was only 4. That left his mother, Mary Hughes, a domestic worker and part-time radio preacher of Seminole descent, to raise John and his older brother alone. Times were brutal. With the Great Depression tightening its grip, survival demanded hustle. The family moved to Chicago's South Side, where young John learned to scrape by doing odd jobs, washing dishes, hauling garbage, running errands. Life was tough, but those harsh streets gave him the grit and humor he would later use to take over the world. And fate had one more twist. While working as a dishwasher, John met another young hustler trying to find his way, Malcolm Little, who would later become Malcolm X. They formed a friendship, and Malcolm gave John a nickname that would stick for life: Chicago Red. It was a nod to his reddish hair and razor-sharp wit. School didn't hold him. He dropped out of Dusable High School, where one of his classmates was a future mayor of Chicago, Harold Washington. But John had a different dream: to make people laugh. At first, he tried music, joining a group called the Jump Swinging Six, but the spotlight kept pulling him toward comedy. By the 1940s, he was performing on the Chitlin circuit, a network of black nightclubs that gave African American entertainers a safe stage during segregation. These smoky, dimly lit clubs were where he found his voice. His jokes weren't polished fairy tales, they were raw, unfiltered, and often explicit. He talked about poverty, race, sex, and relationships with an honesty that made audiences howl. They didn't just laugh. They saw their own lives reflected in his words. By the 1950s, Redd had become a giant in underground comedy. His party records, raunchy stand-up albums were underground sensations. He recorded more than 50 albums, selling over 15 million copies, earning the title King of the Party Records. These weren't sold in mainstream white stores, but within the black community. Redd Foxx was already a legend. As he once said, they didn't want fairy tales. They wanted real talk. In 1970, Redd got a small role in the film Cotton Comes to Harlem, and Hollywood finally noticed. Just 2 years later, NBC cast him in a sitcom that would change television forever, Sanford and Son. Playing Fred G. Sanford, a grumpy junk dealer in Los Angeles, Redd brought authenticity, sarcasm, and unforgettable timing. The show was adapted from a British sitcom, Steptoe and Son, but Redd gave it a uniquely American voice. His fake heart attacks, clutching his chest, yelling, "This is the big one, Elizabeth," became television history. The series was a massive hit, running 6 seasons and consistently ranking in the top 10. Redd earned a Golden Globe Award and 3 Emmy nominations. At the peak, he was making $25,000 per episode, making him the highest-paid actor on TV in the early 70s. But Sanford and Son was more than just laughs. It tackled poverty, race, and class with bold honesty. At a time when black families were rarely seen on television, Redd Foxx gave millions of viewers a character who was flawed, funny, and real. He opened doors for future icons Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Chris Rock, and Jamie Foxx, all of whom credit him as a trailblazer. While Fred Sanford was stingy on screen, Redd Foxx lived the opposite way off screen. At his peak, he amassed an estimated fortune of $11 million, and he spent it fast. He owned a $10 million Beverly Hills mansion, a $7.8 million Malibu retreat, and a $5.6 million Palm Springs getaway. These weren't simple houses, they were palaces. Beverly Hills had a grand staircase, gourmet kitchen, spa-like bathrooms, and a resort-style pool. Malibu offered beachfront luxury. Palm Springs had retro charm and desert views. And then there were the cars. Redd collected them like trophies: a Lincoln Continental, a Chevrolet Bel Air, and his pride and joy, the Lil Red Wrecker, a custom tow truck built by George Barris, the same genius who designed the Batmobile. This was Redd Foxx's empire. Mansions, luxury, and the finest toys money could buy for a kid who grew up poor in St. Louis. This was proof he had made it. But behind the glamour, the foundation was cracking. Redd's financial habits were reckless: lavish spending, endless generosity for marriages, and costly divorces drained his fortune. His 18-year marriage to Betty Jean Harris ended with a settlement of $150,000 plus $10,000 a month in support. His later marriages, though shorter, also came with costs. And then came the IRS. By the mid-1980s, Redd owed $3.6 million in back taxes. In 1989, they stormed his Las Vegas home in a humiliating raid, seizing everything: his jewelry, his cars, even his furniture. His mansions were foreclosed, his beloved vehicles taken away. The king of comedy who once ruled Hollywood was now performing in small clubs just to get by. But Redd wasn't finished yet. In 1988, one of his biggest fans stepped in: Eddie Murphy. Eddie had idolized Redd growing up and saw him as a legend who deserved respect. He cast Redd in his film Harlem Nights, writing the role of Benny specifically for him. Redd's paycheck was $560,000, but the IRS took nearly all of it. Still, Eddie wasn't done. He created a new sitcom, The Royal Family, with Redd as the lead, alongside Della Reese. The show had promise. It tackled real-life issues of grown kids moving back home with parents. Ratings were strong, and Redd seemed ready for a comeback. But behind the scenes, he clashed with writers who struggled to capture authentic black voices. He rejected lines he considered racially offensive, fighting for dignity in how families were portrayed. Even in his final days, Redd was still pushing boundaries. On October 11, 1991, tragedy struck. During a rehearsal for The Royal Family, Redd collapsed on set. At first, everyone laughed. They thought it was another one of his famous fake heart attacks. But this time, it was real. He had suffered a massive heart attack and was rushed to the hospital. Hours later, Redd Foxx was gone. He was 68. The irony was heartbreaking, and the tragedy didn't stop there. At the time of his death, Redd Foxx had a negative net worth of $3.5 million. He left behind mountains of debt, no biological children, and only his adopted daughter Debraca and his widow Kaho Cho to inherit the tangled mess. Hollywood stayed mostly silent when Redd Foxx passed away. But Eddie Murphy stepped up one final time. He paid for the funeral, covered the cost of the headstone, and made sure his idol received a farewell worthy of a legend. Years later, Eddie reflected with heartbreaking honesty, "I buried Redd Foxx. Literally, I loved him." Redd's journey was never just about comedy, it was about courage. His story wasn't simply one of riches to rags. It was the chronicle of a man who broke barriers, challenged Hollywood, and gave audiences laughter drawn from his own struggles. His iconic sitcom, Sanford and Son, still stands tall as one of the greatest shows in television history, even ranked by Time magazine among the top 100 TV shows of all time. The impact he left can be traced in the voices of today's giants: Chris Rock, Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, all comedians who built careers on telling unflinching truths. Even Jamie Foxx honored him by choosing Fox as his stage name, a permanent tribute to the man who paved the way. Yet Redd's life is also a cautionary tale. It reminds us of the hidden dangers behind fame, fortune, and financial mismanagement. Even the brightest stars can fall if they have no safety net. In the end, Redd Foxx gave the world a gift no debt collector could touch: laughter. And in return, the world gave him something greater than money: immortality. So, what do you think was Redd Foxx truly Hollywood's most underrated legend? Share your favorite Redd Foxx moment in the comments, whether it's Sanford and Son or his legendary stand-up. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share it with fans of classic comedy, And make sure to subscribe for more untold stories of entertainment's greatest icons. Don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss a deep dive. Thanks for watching, and as Redd would say, you big dummy, thanks for watching.